Good evening and welcome to Have I News for You, and we'd like to start by mentioning the 7 viewers who wrote in to complain about last week's programme and told us that it was inappropriate and unfair towards Ewan Blair to mention his past indiscretions. Although, in our defence, it was Friday night, so he would have been too pissed to notice. In the news this week, in the run-up to Christmas, Buckingham Palace receives a delivery from Harrods Food Hall. In Manchester, things get out of hand after the Burger King Christmas party. And there are slight teething problems at the opening of Albania's first ever fun park. On Ian Hislop's team is the 60-year-old owner of a table dancing club who claims that he never wears underpants. And now we've put you off your dinner and got your attention. Please welcome Peter Stringfellow. And with Paul Merton tonight is a food writer and journalist who described her new cookery book as a baking book that isn't about baking. So, welcome to a comedy show that works on much the same principle. Nigella Lawson. And a special Christmas treat, we begin with round 1. Ian and Peter, your official opener.
And that's the Queen, going by a fast form of transport. That's Black Rod.
All right.
Known as Rodney. No, he isn't really. I don't know who that is.
It's Prince Philip.
Tony's going to stop crime. Just like that. Stop it. Stop it now.
But there's going to be curfews, he says,
Yeah.
maybe.
For curfews for 2-year-olds. I think they've got to stay in after 6 o'clock.
It's going to be a bit of a problem for Stringfellows, isn't it? There was a measure that seemed to affect Stringfellows, I thought. There's a bill to ensure bouncers don't have criminal records that's going to be brought in.
Well, that's true. And so it should be, you know.
And all of you...
So I'm OK. I'm the only one with a record. My guys are OK. Yeah.
Have you got a record? Yeah. What for?
Beatles, Love Me Do, Oasis. I got one!
Got one what? A record?
Yes.
It'll be cut.
There I go.
They can dub the comedy on later.
So how well was this speech received, then?
With immense boredom by everybody.
Yes, especially this person here. One of the poor beef eaters has obviously eaten a little bit too much beef by Elizabeth.
Or he could be a coke addict. See all those lines of coke going on the carpet?
I think he was just overcome with emotion at the thought of the hunting bill. Because there's nothing very important going on in the country at the moment in terms of transport or education. So we're going to ban fox hunting. That's the big one.
I think it's great.
Really?
Ban hunting.
What about banning bouncers?
Ban sex. Well, where's it gone quiet?
I think it went quiet because everyone thought, hang on, you've claimed to slept with 2,000 women, isn't that true?
No.
And they want sex banned.
No, I'd like to put the record straight. That's not true, because I said that 4 years ago.
So it's now...
So what is that, 2001, is it?
2001.
So anyway, the Queen's speech.
Yeah.
How was it modernised and what was changed about this year? There were 1 or 2 things.
She did a rap version, didn't she?
I was thinking of various things that...
well, what you were thinking of and what the rest of us was thinking about is 2 different things. What were you thinking about?
I was thinking about the way in which it had been modernised.
You're a very inquisitive person, aren't you? Questions every week. Questions is what happened. If you read the papers like me and Ian, you'd know all this stuff.
In keeping with the recent modernisation of the ceremony leading up to the Queen's speech, the Lords watched as Black Rod knocked on the heavy oak door and gave the traditional cry of "What's up?" Paul and Nigella, your party animals?
It's William Hague there and Michael Botillo next to him. There's Kenneth Clarke. Now, this is probably about the Conservatives, is it?
Are things going well for the Tories?
Very well.
We recognised them, didn't we?
That's a bit of a plus for them, certainly, yes. But I was thinking more politically. How are things?
Not very good. They're not in power at the moment. Something you would have picked up if you've been reading the papers.
You're quite keen on them, aren't you?
Absolutely, I am. Yeah.
You're their informal advisor, aren't you?
Well, I wouldn't say
On what?
informal, reasonably
On
formal.
what?
Yeah, you know, I go to their functions and stuff and raises. So I'm very much a
He brings the
conservative.
girls in.
I am a conservative, that's it.
You do go to their functions, and you take some lap dancers to a function where Mrs Thatcher was.
Yes, and she met them, and yes, of course she didn't know they were dancers, but she some nice
Did they
chat.
know she was Mrs Thatcher?
She's all right. Yeah, wherever I go, I take the girls with me. Conservatives are generally sexy people, you know.
We did notice.
I'm thinking Anne Widdecombe here.
How about Margaret Beckham? You know, Beckett, you know.
He hasn't married David Beckham, has he?
And you went to a dinner that Anne Widdecombe hosted, I gather. Quite
Yes, I
recently.
did. Yeah.
You obviously have a bit of effect on her, because this was here last night.
Yeah.
Is it true you never wear underpants?
Yes.
Do you not think this programme's going slightly down market when you find yourself turning to one of our guests and asking them if they wear underpants or not?
Well, he's
We're on BBC One, mate. You've got to pull your finger out.
That's why I'm asking. BBC Two, you wouldn't get away with it.
No.
And you're wearing underpants?
I may be. But not where you would expect me to wear them.
Kenneth Clark answered speculation as to whether or not he was planning to stand for leader of the party, saying, "I have no intention whatever of running for leadership against William Hague," adding later in the Mail, "I think it highly unlikely that I will run for leadership," before finally clearing things up once and for all in The Independent with, "I will stand if there's an election." Ian and Peter, back despite public demand.
George Bush.
Gore.
Lieberman. It's extraordinarily boring, isn't it, really, at this stage?
What, the programme?
Bring back Clinton, that's what I say.
Yeah, well...
Is that for any obvious reason, Peter?
I like the guy.
Oh, right.
We have the
got
same
something-
hobbies.
Yeah.
There is someone benefiting. There are one or two people benefiting from the US elections, in fact. Psychiatrists in America, apparently.
Well, people are very stressed out.
Yes.
There's no winner.
Election anxiety is what they call it.
And lawyers.
And lawyers, obviously, yeah. And a place called St Chad's Church in
Excuse me,
Lichfield.
is this building under attack? You hear all those loud booms? Those must be fireworks.
Or Bush has got in and pressed the button. Sick of executing people one at a time. Let's do the lot.
According to The Guardian, a conciliatory George Bush told Al Gore, "We are all Americans, we can work together, there will be a spirit of cooperation," adding, "But I'm going to be president, pal, so suck on that." And finally, Paul and Nigella.
This is a story of the year, possibly, this one. Washing up bowls, those plastic washing up bowls there are very, very bad.
Chopping boards.
Chopping boards are the
But it
same, you're
does-
quite right.
And look, that's an earlier time when people washed up very slowly.
Yeah. Washing up bowl contains all that bacteria. You put sort of greasy plates into a washing up bowl and then you put something else into the washing up bowl. All that bacteria breeds in there. Tea towels are very bad as well for that very reason. Whereas a sink, because the water's running through the whole time, is not so bad for bacteria.
And who is this according to?
It's according to a special man who knows about these things.
This is Hugh Pennington, Professor.
It could be.
Professor Hugh Pennington.
Where does the cucumber come into all this?
Well, that's
It's a
on the
chopping
yeah.
board.
Your chopping board can be loads of bacteria on there as well. Plastic, especially, it's a breeding ground for bacteria.
Ah, I see.
You must be familiar with that
Can I
sort of
make
thing.
a note of it?
Yeah, write it down.
Yes. And what about taps? They suggest not using taps as well.
What are you meant to use? A hose?
You're supposed to use motion-sensitive devices.
Well, like buckets from the well.
No, they're things that turn themselves on if you go near them. In fact, Peter, you probably know.
What's wrong with the tap?
Because you touch the tap, presumably, and it harbours your germs.
Oh, well, this is why you shouldn't have mints in restaurants. When you see those little plate of mints,
Yeah.
you know, because they've done various studies on them. 15 types of urine, yeah. Peanuts is the same, yeah. Yeah, it's true.
15 types of urine?
Yeah, ranging from panda to antelope.
What has there been a huge increase in this country in the last 2 or 3 years? That's been the motivation for all this?
Food poisoning, salmonella.
Yeah, diarrhoea, in fact, now affects 1 in 5 people. And who's been blamed for the nation's sloppy kitchen habits?
June Whitfield.
TV chefs. TV chefs, Nigella, yes. Haven't you had complaints for something during your programme that you did?
Well, not really complaints. I did have a few Channel 4 viewers who were tremendously worried because my hair wasn't tied back.
Oh, yeah, and it was flopping about in the fancy cakes.
It's like a story about Prince Philip and the cheese when he went to visit that factory and he said, I'm not putting on a hat, and it had to be destroyed. Sadly, the cheese.
This is one Professor Hugh Pennington at the renowned Home Hygiene Conference in London. Professor Pennington criticised the use of washing up bowls, tea towels and dishcloths, adding items should be run first under the hot tap, then washed in a large volume of water containing a detergent such as bleach. This should be followed by a final rinse with running hot water, at which point his wife slammed the saucepan down and said, right, you bloody do it then. He told the conference delegates, the best way to get rid of diarrhoea is to dispense with the washing up bowl and use the whole sink. I hope he takes the plates out first. So, at the end of that round, the teams are like Daniela Westbrook's nostrils. There's nothing between them, being as it is for all. The news as reported by the tabloids, that's not so much in capsule as suppository form. 2 gifts from their headline writers to admire, Ian and Peter. Loin King.
Oh, this is me, of course. I had a photograph taken with, are you ready for this one? A guinea pig. Very good-looking one, let me just tell you, called Sooty. And he escaped and joined other females and impregnated 24 and then slept for a week. And for some unknown reason, which I'm obvious somewhere along the line, I had my photograph taken with him.
Here they are. You invited him to your club, then?
Absolutely. It looks a bit like a combination between me and you. It's our child. It's our child.
Is this true?
There you go, you see.
You two had a guinea pig.
And do you know what his the courting ritual was that he went through with each one? He adopts a stalking position, apparently, accompanied by soft purring.
That sounds like me. I'll go with that. That usually works. Bit of purring.
That's a lovely image, isn't it? This is the guinea pig who managed to impregnate 24 females in one marathon romp after Sooty the guinea pig appeared in the papers with Peter Stringfellow. Calls flooded in, offering a home to the randy, long-haired rodent. The guinea pig was named after the famous children's TV character Sooty, partially because of his appearance, but mainly because of his habit of pulling out his magic wand and crying, "Izzy Wizzy, let's get busy." Paul and Nigella, your deceptive revolver, Crush Hour.
This is
Oxford Street.
Oxford Street, yes. They're implementing a speed lane for walkers, for pedestrians in Oxford Street. Some people are very annoyed at some people are dawdling along, so there's a special fast lane you can get in now.
You can get arrested for dawdling.
Dawdling in the fast lane, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it's a silly idea and it won't happen.
Now, if you got in as mayor, you stood for mayor, didn't you?
No.
Oh, you were thinking of standing
I was
as mayor.
thinking about it until it became real, then I withdrew.
Is that the first time
Who
that's
the hell wants to do that? But it looked like somebody might be taking me serious when, hey, not me.
I'm sure that wasn't going to happen, Peter.
You never know, you never know. In Nigella, they voted in Ken Livingstone, you know, so anything can happen.
Yeah, but he's a politician.
Well, that's by your assessment, maybe. You know, no.
Yeah, of
He's
course.
a nice guy. He's all right.
Yeah, he's
okay.
not a Conservative, I keep forgetting.
Oh, yeah.
But you're prepared to appear with him on television, I noticed.
Of course I am. I go out with a guinea pig, I'll go with him.
Well, we can see your latest oeuvre.
Would you think differently about me? If I was white, white.
Would I have won if I was Asian? Would I be more irresistible?
I can see why the guinea pig's after you. Send me the nest for the winter.
That is my body, by the way. Joke
Is it really?
I swear, that's my body, really.
Why is it then that it looks so different to this other picture of you that was taken quite recently?
Now, the guinea pig's in your left hand, am I right?
Yes, this is the proposal to give pedestrians on-the-spot fines for walking too slowly in Oxford Street. Under the scheme, there will be a fast lane for people wanting to walk at 4 miles an hour, and for anyone who wants to go slower than that, they should drive. Which capital punishment means at the end of this stretch, neither side has the imagination to have a different score, both opting for an identical 6. Round 3 is where we invite our panellists to pick an odd one out and marvel at their inability to do so. Just one per team this week. Paul and Nigella. Your perfect pros are Gary Rhodes, Anthony Worrell-Thompson, Michael Barry and Nigella Lawson.
Is it about comments made by Delia Smith? Didn't she recently say that Anthony Worrell-Thompson was disgusting?
She did,
She
yes.
did. And she said that Food and Drink, which Michael Barry's on, is one of the most boring programmes on television. Yeah?
Yep, she did. You're in the right
And
area.
so I presume she also said something horrible about Gary Rhodes.
That she...
Because the only reason I say that is she gave a quote from my book, so unless she's been saying horrible things behind my back, which she might do after this T-shirt, that's the only thing I can think of, sorry.
And so you are the odd one out.
Oh, don't say that, that's so cruel.
It is the right answer.
well
Perfect
done.
answer.
Good.
Well done.
Anthony's a nice guy. He probably just went back into print and had a go at her, but he's a nice guy. Do you know him?
I do. He's got similar hair to you, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Hasn't he got similar taste in women? Isn't his wife used to look after the girls at Stringfellows?
Yeah, she used to be a waitress. Beautiful girl.
Do you remember the advice that you gave him?
Yes, I did. Don't try and pull that one. You've no chance.
Yeah. You've no chance because
Any
I've been
married,
trying to
though,
get into her knickers for 5 years.
I thought I'd leave that bit out.
Try losing weight.
Leave it in.
I'm looking good, aren't I? What do you think?
Looking slimmer,
Yeah.
certainly.
I'm glad you mentioned it. I wore a jumper 3 weeks ago and everybody talked about it. I've lost 3.5 stone in 2 years and nobody's bloody mentioned it. Well, just for that, I'm going to get fat now.
3.5 stone you've lost?
Yeah.
How did
Oh,
you do
don't
that?
encourage him, Angus.
3.5 stone.
God, this
right
suddenly
leg
turned
off.
into Weight Watchers. Yeah, good, right. Paul.
And I've had a nice haircut. Don't you think it's a nice haircut?
I hadn't noticed you'd had a cut, actually.
Haven't you?
No.
I have. I'd notice if you had your haircut, Angus.
I have, actually, Paul.
Yes, I like it.
Has this turned into breakfast TV?
No, she does like you, doesn't she, Delia?
I like her.
I love Nigella's writing. I love her recipes.
Would you have lesbian sex with her? You have?
It'd be very hard to have any other sort of sex with her.
Well, for you, it would.
For me.
Yeah, you're thinking of yourself there, aren't you?
That's the best way.
Oh, I suppose so.
Have you finished now?
No, not really.
On the lesbian sex tack.
I don't suppose you took any photographs, did you?
I'll show you later.
In a recent interview, Delia explained, I know that Sainsbury's creme fraiche is the best on the supermarket shelves because I put it there. She is thorough, isn't she? Ian and Peter, no real surprises for you. A blancmange, an armadillo, a headlight and a gherkin.
I think this is about buildings. The dome was compared to a blancmange by Prince Charles. The new Lord Mayor's building has been compared to a headlight. A new tower by Norman Foster has been compared to a gherkin. It's that sort of shape. And I think some building in Scotland has been compared to an armadillo.
Are you sure you just can't eat the headlight?
There's me trying to be clever.
So I'll give you a clue. It's a designer question.
They're all Norman Foster except for the dome, which is Richard Rogers.
Yes, I'll give you the points for that. Yeah, we can have a look at the headlight, or the London mayoral offices, as they will be. Do you know how it's heated, this place?
Solar?
Oh, it's got to be solar.
Vegetable oil.
All right.
Quite what we can do with the vegetable oil, I don't know.
Then you just saying vegetable oil didn't help anybody. Because you don't know how the vegetable oil is actually going to heat the building. You just said vegetable oil, and I don't know how it heats, so why bother telling us that? It's not even useless information. Well, it's not useless information, because in fact it's not even information. It's just useless.
The information is that it's heated with vegetable oil.
How? You don't know. So how do we believe? You might as well say, well, apparently it's going to be heated by corn on the cob.
They put the vegetable oil in the boiler,
Yeah.
and then that would heat the water that
So
goes
you do
on.
know?
I'm guessing.
Well, you're guessing wildly. I mean, it's no good. This programme's going out on television. There's dozens of people watching this. So, okay, let's have a look at the Lord Mayor's office. It's all good vegetable oil. It all goes in the boiler. La la. There you go, along with bags of uncooked chips, chucking them in.
OK, it's not vegetable oil, it's solar heating, you were right.
Right, okay. Like it.
Yes, the answer is that buildings designed by Norman Foster have been likened to all of them, except for a blancmange, to which Prince Charles likened the dome. He also described the dome as an indefensible waste of public money. I believe that's what's called self-unaware. Norman Foster designed a skyscraper in London which has been called the Gherkin. According to Foster and Partners, it is to be a freestanding building set within a space defined by the surrounding buildings. So, a building, then. And so to the last round we have time for this year, featuring highlights of this week's headlines, along with some, none or many from this week's guest publication, the always reliable Worm Digest.
I think we should have another guest publication said of that. I nominate this one, Angus the Magazine. OK, so... Ian and Angus, let's have a look at your first one. It's Angus what?
Angus, the person who hasn't been told anything about this.
Angus Day.
No, nearly good. I'm gonna have to
I
give it
like
to
the
you,
way
that
you
one.
laugh at your own jokes, Ian.
Good, thank you.
Must get
Nigella.
lonely sometimes. So go on then,
It's like eating your own food.
I'll give you a clue. It's what you are.
Angus host.
No, I'm going to have to give it to you. It's Angus Bull.
Meanwhile, back at the quiz, Al-Fayed takes what?
Up the sarcophagus.
No,
Up the Harrods Food Hall.
neither of those things.
Up the Valley of Kings.
Takes other people's rubbish and uses it to try and prejudice the course of justice, allegedly.
Taxman to court is... this is an outraged Mohammed Al-Fayed, who's accused the Inland Revenue of acting unreasonably and abusively. Obviously worried they're stealing his act. Next, I want what, says Baby.
I want to learn to talk. Oh, I've done it.
No, not that
Oh, is
Baby.
it Baby Spice? I want to be taken
Baby.
seriously. I want to be an actress. I want to play Hamlet.
It is Baby Spice, but I want my own baby, is what baby said. Next, can I borrow a cup of what?
Worms. I've had nothing from Worm Weekly. It's got to be worms.
Is the right answer. Next, women bear buttocks in what?
In attempt to woo worms out of plastic bins.
Not from Worm Digest.
Really?
No.
There was a very similar headline in last month's issue.
You know, in the trenches in the First World War, soldiers who were separated from their girlfriends used to use can of worms.
Did they?
It's well known.
Really?
It is now.
Were the worms alive?
Yeah.
Well, it would be a bit saucy if they weren't.
In protest at King's brother. This is the King of Swaziland.
Oh, right.
According to the Telegraph, the bearing of buttocks in Swazi culture is a strong insult. Unlike over here, of course, where it's a formal greeting. Next, what Cuban style?
Boots!
It is from Worm Digest.
Ah, how to look after worms, Cuban style.
How to cook your worm, Cuban style.
How to make your worm go up like a cheroot, Cuban style.
None of these are anywhere near, and you're not going to get it
How to send your
anyway.
worm to a fancy dress party as Fidel Castro.
It is, in fact, vermicomposting, which wayward finishing means at the end of the day, this week's chumps are Paul and Nigella with 10, and this week's champs are Ian and Peter with 11. So, a prize turkey to our winners, a good stuffing to our losers, but before we let them loose on the mulled wine, a quick shot of the caption competition.
I can't really see any humour in that at all, you know.
Right.
I'm going to keep looking at it so I can think of something funny. There's a Father Christmas on the right saying to the woman in front of him, he says, "Don't look now," but right in the far left corner there's a man shoving a guinea pig in his mouth. It's still not funny.
Thank you. And I leave you with news that in central London there's evidence that Railtrack has taken over the management of public telephone boxes.
See, you get the funny pictures, we get a bunch of stuff. Loads of things you could say on that one. Or you could say, well, look, when are these traffic lights going to change? It's happening all week. Or one boy could be saying to the other, Simon, I told you not to knock that first one over. You wouldn't listen. Anyway, what's the next one?
There's a suspicion that the Teletubbies have been conned by a double glazing salesman.
Giant moth loses wing over East Anglia.
And in Hollywood, producers finally decide who's to play the lead in The Exorcist 4.
Anne Widdecombe experiences her first orgasm since 1958.
Good night.
Make sure you shake up your weeknights with Adventure Monday, Diagnosis Tuesday and History Wednesday from 8 right here on UK TV Documentary.